SJ. Welcome to Mvskoke Radio, your weekly source for tribal and community news, interesting guests and discussions, plus a local events calendar. SJ, Estongo, Gary 5, Jaho Jifkados, Mvskoke Radio, Mabu Hejidawejkis. Welcome to Mvskoke Radio here on 1240 The Brew in beautiful downtown Okmulgee, and gosh, it is beautiful here today. So thank you for tuning in and listening. We've got a few things to share with you on this morning's program. First of all, we'll be talking to a couple of folks on the crew putting on the Diabetes Summit coming up. We'll also hear some of the interviews we did at the grand opening of Margaritaville, which is quite an enterprise down there, all bright and shiny and new and full of folks pumping little coins into the machines, which is good news for us. And lastly, we'll be speaking with Kacie Ryal of the tribe's Public Relations Department. She is one of the nuts and bolts crew there that actually makes things happen, that publicizes the tribe, responds to citizens' inquiries and things like that. And we're going to find out what does it take to publicize the Mvskoke Creek Nation. But first of all, we'd like to welcome to the studio Garrick Bateman and Taylor Williams. We want to thank you all for making time this morning to come down.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you for having us. Okay,
now, as we were chatting outside in the lobby here, I learned that this is the 10th Diabetes Summit coming up, and so let's take a look at, first of all, the logistical sorts of things, the date, time, place, that sort of thing.
Sure. Like you said, this is the 10th annual Mvskoke Creek Nation Citizens Diabetes Awareness Summit. The summit is primarily for Creek Nation citizens. However, spouses and support persons of tribal citizens and other American natives living in our boundaries are also welcome. It's on Thursday, September 15th, from 8:30 to 3:30 at the First Baptist Church in Okmulgee on West 5th Street. During this time, we will have speakers, national speakers, and local speakers giving you information about diabetes and how to prevent it and also how to manage it.
Okay, now, Garrick, what's your title there? And the over supervising agency putting this thing on, first of all.
The agency putting it on is our diabetes program with the Department of Health. I am a nurse. I'm the educator coordinator for the diabetes program at Kowita Clinic.
Okay, now let's turn to Taylor Williams. First of all, what's your title and what do you do there?
I am a diabetes dietitian for the Mvskoke Creek Nation. I'm from the Kowita Clinic.
Okay. Now this summit here is aimed at dealing with one of the major health problems our nation faces. From your estimation, is this like the number one problem, or where would it rank?
Yes, for Native citizens and also other ethnic groups, diabetes is one of the leading causes of complications. So either death or amputation, kidney disease. Those
yuck. Now, as I say, is it the number one problem challenging our people? Do any of you have any feel for that? If not, that's okay.
I wouldn't say that it's the number one, but it's one of
the highest.
One of the highest, yes.
Yeah. It also is, that is the case for Native Americans across the nation, just as far as I understand.
Yes.
With some tribes having worse situations than us. Do you have any feel for some numbers there, either of you? Like 1 out of 5, 1 out of 10, or anything like that? No? Okay.
I would say on the majority of my patients, I probably see 80% are for diabetes. The other 20 being weight management or some other type of chronic disease. But for the most part, I see mainly diabetes.
Now, you're kind of a specialist in the program, and what was the focus again? nutrition with it?
Yes, I'm a dietitian, so I see patients for their annual diabetes checkup, so just kind of make sure they're on track with their nutrition, exercise, that kind of stuff.
Now, I have to deal with this problem myself, so I'm coming from an insider's point of view also. And I find sometimes the nutritional challenges. Sometimes, it's not exactly the way the diet is laid out with the correct amount of fruits and vegetables kind of thing. The occasional piece of bread,
That's okay.
which I'm glad to say is actually kind of rare, darn it. But is a majority of what you're seeing then people just not holding to a healthy diet?
Yes, I think that a big thing is, and this is part of the summit, I'm going to be teaching a breakout session after lunch, and it's going to be have your cake and eat it too. So it's teaching people how to use portion control, which is the biggest thing. You can't go on a diet and restrict everything. You still have to have carbohydrates. So the breakout session at the summit is going to be covering that, and just learning that you can still have the food you like and you can still control your diabetes. You can still lose weight. We're also going to be, the American Heart Association is going to be donating the food to do a cooking demo. So at the end of the session, we'll be doing it's a heart-healthy chili, so there'll be samples and recipes provided from that.
I think for me at least, you probably hit the nail on the head when you mentioned portion control. I understand from the sessions I've been through from some of your colleagues that if you're having say, a piece of meat or chicken or something like that, we're looking at the palm of your hand roughly.
That's good that you can tell me that.
Okay, now if I could just stick to it. That's the hard part. What is the agenda now? Is it a 2-day session?
It's a one-day session.
One-day session. Okay, what's the agenda?
We have an opening session with Daryl Tonema, and then we will also have breakout sessions. We have 6 breakout sessions planned, anywhere from physical activity, like Zumba and gentle yoga, to like Taylor's presentation on healthy eating. We'll also have presentations on knowing your risk for diabetes and heart disease. We'll also have a health screening, which we'll have blood pressure checks and also weight checks, and then we'll assign a number, a score, and then counsel you on what that score means. And then we'll have a breakout session for if you have a high risk, you might want to attend the breakout session to find out what that means for you.
So you could actually get an assessment of your condition, your physical condition, right on the spot there.
Yes, we'll have myself and another nurse from Coweta, Rebecca, and then we'll have all of our public health nurses doing the health assessment.
Now, Taylor, you're the one who sees these folks coming in. What is the biggest challenge that you're seeing among your patients?
Right now, I would just have to say, same thing pretty much you said, just a lot of people know the information and they know, they can come to our classes and they get all this, but it's just doing it. So I really push for follow-ups for people to come back at least, once a month, because accountability is the biggest thing. And for the people that do come back for follow-ups, they have, from what I see, much better success. So
that kind of keeps them on the straight and narrow. Then. Okay. As the tribe begins to respond, or has been responding to this health problem, are we making any progress, do you think? Either of you, or actually, let me hear this from both of you. From what you see in your positions, are we doing better than we have been?
We are doing really well, I believe. Creek Nation has 5 clinics, and each clinic has their own diabetes team. And so we're available Monday through Friday, 8 to 5, for patients with diabetes to come in and see us. We get referrals from the primary care providers, and patients can come in and we can assess their medications. We look at their diet, we look at their physical activity. We also look at other issues that might cause them to not be able to manage diabetes as well, such as sleep patterns and also stress, those type of things. So we are fortunate as citizens of Creek Nation that we have a lot of resources available right here within our boundaries and within our clinics. For instance, at Coweta, we have behavioral health, and we have primary care right there. We have optometry and dental, and all those things are important to our patients to have available so they can have all those things checked out annually, which is a recommendation from the American Diabetes Association that everyone with diabetes see an optometrist once a year, see the dentist once a year, have a fit exam once a year, and also see a dietitian and a diabetes educator once a year. So all those services are provided in each of our clinics.
Wow, looks like I'm actually on track. All of those things, I was checking them off mentally as we go through. And chatting with one of the co-workers back at the tribe, he said one of the physical exams he had undergone a little while back indicated he was at least pre-diabetic and on his way, and he needed to do something about it. But he expressed support and acknowledged the situation he was in. But he said, "Well, I don't want to end up having to stick myself with a needle every day, and I just hate needles, and I don't care what it's for. I don't like them." And it made sense to me, but that's I think he was thinking in terms of the old long harpoons that were in use. And you take your little bottle and stick your needle in and draw out the correct medication, and then find what I heard one of your former colleagues call it. Maybe the love handles is a good place to stick yourself. And it's and okay. So I went through that for a while, but then it changed to this what do they call it, flexi pen, and where it is. Got a disposable needle, very fine, almost hair-sized needle, and there's not that much problem with it anymore. I said, okay, well, go ahead and give myself medication, get it on with it, and get on with the day. Now, have you run across this scenario I just described of people having this phobia about needles and saying that ain't the case anymore?
Yes, there are a lot of people, most people in general don't like needles. And so we do have the flex pens available. And one of the things that we try to teach everyone is that just because you have diabetes doesn't mean that you're automatically going to be on insulin. We have a lot of oral medications that can be prescribed. And if those don't work, then you may have to go on insulin. But that's not necessarily the first step. If that person is pre-diabetic, then really modifying their diet and physical activity will go a long way to prevent getting diabetes. And those will be some of the things that we'll talk about at the summit this year too, is how to prevent diabetes. We start early. We start with our diabetes prevention camp in the summer. We have kids from 10 to 15 come in, and we teach them how to prevent diabetes. And hopefully, while we've been teaching these kids, they learn good habits, and then they don't ever develop diabetes. But then, there are some that will develop diabetes, and then we teach how to manage diabetes and not necessarily have to go on insulin. As far as the flex pen, they are a great tool, a great resource to manage diabetes. If you should need insulin, flex pens are a way to still have freedom. You don't have to refrigerate the pens once you've started to use it. So if you're taking time insulin, you can take it with you to the restaurant, discreetly give yourself a shot, and continue on. There's not a drawing up anything. You dial it, you put the needle on, and you give it to yourself. So it's a lot easier to use insulin with the pen.
Yeah, I would. I know the difference now. Taylor, have you run across that scenario I just described? People were fearful of that needle, having to deal with a situation, having to inject themselves with insulin. I mean, is that a factor in what you run across?
Yes, it definitely does. And a lot of times, too, in the nutrition sessions, I can kind of use that as a motivator for them, that changing their diet and starting an exercise routine can prevent you from getting on insulin. In some cases it can't, but definitely I have a lot of people that are in fear of that. So it's good for them to come in and talk to one of our nurses and talk to us, and it's, just to learn that it's not the worst thing that's ever happened to them, and it can be managed through us and through them, and that we're kind of there for their support.
You mentioned exercise as being an important component of a program there. Now, we're not talking about having to go to a gym and bust your tail lifting weights or on a bicycle machine kind of thing where you're really going at it. It doesn't have to go that far, right?
No, I think we probably say your exact words that you just said when we talked to them. It doesn't have to be you have to go to a gym and run for 45 minutes. It's just making it a point to be more active during the day, maybe setting 2 or 3 times a week, starting very slow too, 10 to 15 minutes, and then bump it up the next week. But a few times a week, there'll be some benefits from that.
Well, it sounds reassuring to me, because what I generally do, about, let's call it 5 times a week, is get on my little cross-country skiing simulator and throw a DVD on my little machine out there and watch a movie for a while, and after an hour, that's it. And
The recommendation is about 30 minutes a day, most days of the week.
30 minutes a day, but if I do it an hour, it's even better.
Even better.
And we just don't want you to start, feel like you have to start at that point. Start slow and then work way up to that 5 days a week, 30 minutes.
Right, I did start off with half-hour shows. So now, if anyone is kind of thinking about, well, do I have it or not, are there signs and things that they could look for perhaps of themselves and saying, well, maybe I'd better get a checkup? Is there something a red flag that you could pass on here?
Sure. Some of the signs and symptoms would be excessive thirst. So if you're thirsty all the time and drinking lots of water and just can't quench the thirst, that would be one of the symptoms. Also, fatigue, so being very tired, going to the restroom a lot, especially at night. And you may say, well, I'm drinking a lot of water, so maybe that's why I'm going to the bathroom a lot. But those two things together would maybe signal that something's going on. Also, there's something called acanthosis nigricans. It is the darkening of the skin on the back of the neck or in skin folds. So between your elbows and behind your knees, you might notice the skin being darker and kind of a velvety feeling. That's one of the signs that your body is producing too much insulin, and may signal that your blood sugars have been really high. So changes in vision is also another one. So blurry vision that comes and goes would be another symptom.
I thought that was all just me getting old. And I wonder how many listeners now are starting to look at their elbows. Now, the symptom. Let's focus in on the summit again. It is on September the 15th, First Baptist Church. Is there any fee or anything associated with it?
No, the summit is free and open to all citizens and guests. There'll be lunch provided and snacks.
Okay. Healthy palm-sized lunch, right?
No, I will say lunch is a little different from most years. You're not going to want to miss this one, so we're going to have it. We're going to have it catered in. So.
Ooh, from where?
McAllister's, but it's a hot meal. It's not a sandwich.
Okay, but it's not Casey's or something like that. You have greasy lips.
We're trying to teach some good stuff here.
We'd also like to encourage everyone to wear comfortable clothes so you can do some of the exercise activities, like the gentle yoga, Zumba, and also we have some chair exercise and band exercises that we'll be doing.
Okay. In the last minute or so we have here, are there any events that your program is working on that will be coming up that people should know about?
Yes. In November, we'll be participating in the ADA Walk to Stop Diabetes. During that time, we'll have sign-ups for our walking program, which just wrapped up last week. So it'll start again at the end of the year. So that'll be an opportunity to sign up for the walking program, which encourages you to walk at least 30 minutes a day.
Okay. Any last thoughts from either one of you before we move on here?
I did want to say one, we're going to be the dietitians are going to be possibly putting on a weight management group. It's going to be we haven't got everything set in stone, but it's possibly going to be once a week, just kind of an afternoon meeting group for weight loss and weight management. So that should be coming up. You can check with your dietitian at your clinic, whichever one you go to.
Okay, thank you very much. Garrick Bateman and Taylor Williams from our diabetes program, we appreciate you coming down and filling us in on this and making me feel a little bit better about what I've been doing. And we'll keep an eye on it, and if there's something that comes up, please let us know. We'll try and give you all a hand.
All right. Hope to see you all out there.
Okay, thank you so much. We'll be taking a short break here on Mvskoke Radio here on 1240 The Brew, and we'll be back, and let's listen to some of the voices of the folks in charge of stuff at the Margaritaville grand opening. So stay with us here on Mvskoke Radio.
I started doing it when I was 11. I wanted to be just like my big brother. And some of my friends were already doing it. We got hooked fast. I just can't get enough. I'm Jacob, and I'm addicted to playing the drums.
There's lots of stuff that makes it cool to be Native. Doing meth isn't one of them. Find something better to do. Check out ncai.org. A message from the Partnership for a Drug-Free America and the National Congress of American Indians.
Who am I? Am I Native? I don't want people assuming things because I'm Indian. I just want to be me. But how do I live in two worlds? Some guys just check out by doing meth. But that ain't for me, because I see my family, my friends, my drum making, my future. There are a lot of cool things about being who I am, and meth isn't one of them.
Learn more at ncai.org. A message from the Partnership for a Drug-Free America and the National Congress of American Indians.
One Fire Casino in Okmulgee offers Ladies' Day every Monday with $5 match play, VIP days for seniors on Tuesdays, lunchtime match plays on Wednesdays and Thursdays, and several other great drawings and prizes throughout the weekend. Don't forget to take advantage of spinning the wheel on Sundays to win up to $5,000 cash. Be sure to check out the daily meal specials at Council Oak Cafe. There are exciting monthly giveaways with extravagant prizes. Come and play at One Fire Casino, where it really is okay to play with fire.
This month, on August the 25th, the long-awaited grand opening of the Margaritaville Casino and Restaurant Project, Phase 1, opened with a monumentous ribbon cutting, lots of festivities, and chances for people to start seeing, what we've been watching being constructed there on the Arkansas River in Tulsa. I've got some interviews here with several of the participants, and what I did was kind of skip the speeches. I mean, we've all heard those speeches before. But I wanted to ask several of those folks some questions and kind of get a little beyond that and a little further into it. What I did was take time to speak with Principal Chief James Floyd, Mr. Pat Crofts, who is the CEO of our tribal casinos, Mr. John Colin, the CEO of the Margaritaville Holdings, Tulsa's Mayor Dewey Bartlett, and finally the representative of Governor Mary Fallon, the Secretary of Interior and Native American Liaison, Chris Bench. So we spent a few minutes with each of these gentlemen and chatting with them. So let's hear what went on at Margaritaville.
James R. Floyd, Principal Chief, Mvskoke Creek Nation.
All right, now we're here at the grand opening of the Margaritaville Phase 1. First of all, how did you feel?
Oh, I feel just wonderful. I think this is the most unique resort that could be built by any tribe in the nation. So, just when they say this is going to be a game changer, the other tribes are going to be looking at this facility and designing future casinos based on this type of a model. Because if you notice, as you walk in, it's like you're walking down a river, and you walk in, and the ceilings are high, it's bright, it's airy, colors look great. It's not the drab-looking colors you see in other casinos, and so to have it be ours, is something I think all of our people, all of our citizens should be proud of.
Now, this enterprise will be going head-to-head with the Hard Rock of the Cherokees, and it's out in Catoosa. You're here in Tulsa, a little more reachable, I'd say, if we want to call it that. What do you think about that competition? Does this raise the bar? Do you think this makes us number one in the area?
I do believe it makes us number one, and we're one of only a handful of casinos that are actually within a city. So to be within the city limits of Tulsa and on the river makes us such a unique property. That raises the bar right there.
Pat Crofts, C-R-O-F-T-S. I'm the CEO for the Mvskoke Creek Nation Casinos.
This has been anticipated for quite some time, and now today we're here and the party is on. What were your thoughts about working with the Mvskoke Creek Nation, a tribal government, first of all, sir?
Well, they've been very supportive. I mean, we talked to them. The need was recognized a long time ago. We opened the River Spirit Casino in January of 2009. And from the first day we opened, our phone was ringing for people wanting to make hotel reservations. And we also were at a little bit of a competitive disadvantage in the market in that we didn't have a hotel, we didn't have an upscale steakhouse. There were some things we didn't have that we knew we needed. And so the Creek Nation government, the leadership have been absolutely behind us all the way.
Okay, now this puts you head-to-head with Hard Rock, with the Cherokee Nation in Catoosa. This facility being in Tulsa, it would probably be a lot more convenient.
Right.
But what were your thoughts when did that issue actually come up? Did you think about competing?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's one of the things we needed. We knew, and that's how we ended up with Margaritaville, is we are competing against a international brand, which was the Hard Rock brand. So we knew we had to get a really well-known brand, and we did a lot of market research, and the name that kept popping up was Margaritaville. So we literally cold called John Colan, the CEO for Margaritaville, and convinced him to come and take a look at Tulsa and look at what we had, and then we ended up striking a deal with him.
I know many of our people will be curious about the financial relationship between the tribe and the Margaritaville corporate people. Now, how would you describe that, sir?
Well, there's a certain return they need to get, and that they will operate, the Margaritaville restaurant and bar and retail and Landshark, and they will primarily get revenues from operating those venues, and they do get a small override from gaming revenues in the Margaritaville casino because we're using their name.
And do you anticipate a good return then on that product?
Absolutely. I mean, the banks are a little bit tough nowadays about lending money, and they've looked at all the financial projections and they've analyzed it, and they're very comfortable lending the money. And I think it'll be a tremendous, addition and financially, for the nation.
COHLAN, the CEO of Margaritaville Holdings.
Well, last time we talked, we were turning dirt, getting started. Now we're here today. The ribbon's cut. First of all, how does it make you feel to see the project come?
It's very exciting. It's been about 5 years. Pat Croft gave me a call, and I can't give him enough credit for his vision and tenacity in putting this project together. Enormous support from the nation. I spent a lot of time with the former chief, current chief, with Robert on the oversight committee, and it's nice to, as Robert said to me earlier, he said, it's one thing to see it on paper, but until you really physically see what it looks like, you don't know how exciting it is.
Well, this new enterprise here kind of raises the bar locally for this type of enterprise, and your stiffest competition will be Hard Rock up in Catoosa. Have you thought about that and what you can bring to perhaps bring more attention and revenue here?
Well, they have their own experience. What we're about is fun, having a good time, feeling that you're in an entertainment experience, and we think we do that better than anyone. and we think we have a very broad demographic appeal. So we're just excited, and we think the facility speaks for itself.
It's quite impressive. One of the things that I wanted to ask you about it was, our tribe depends heavily on revenues from gaming enterprises. What's the relationship there between your corporation and the Mvskoke Creek Nation?
Well, we have a typical commercial relationship with them, but I think their view, and I would agree with it, is our participation, will maximize those revenues that get applied to such wonderful causes.
Mayor Bartlett, we've just witnessed the grand opening of Phase 1 of Margaritaville, a long-awaited program.
Hey, Chief, how are you? Nice to see you. Thank you.
Now, what does this represent as far as the market goes? It looks like it's going to definitely raise the bar for this area.
Well, it definitely is. It's already become an attraction for investment money, which is terrific. In yesterday's Tulsa newspaper, it was announced that a gentleman named Ed Leinbach is expanding his apartment complex by 250 apartment units just because of this facility. And that's just the beginning. Land around here is going to be very hard to get, very expensive to get, but more things will be built, both from apartments to other businesses that will supply things and supplies and whatever to not only this facility, but all the other facilities around it. So it's a huge deal.
Okay, with the Cherokee establishment, Hard Rock, right out in Catoosa, are we looking at a possible, perhaps saturation of the market?
Well, I don't think so. Hopefully not. But if it is, that means there's going to be more things built. And at some point, it will reach an equilibrium. We do have 3 major casinos in the Tulsa area now, and I, just from a novice, I would think that's probably enough. But they're all expanding and growing, and so that will take up whatever market will be available, and I think it could be equally split between the 3 of them, essentially, and that would probably take care of it.
Secretary Binge, you're here representing the governor and seeing this grand opening here of Phase 1 of Margaritaville. Your impressions, first of all, sir?
Well, it's awesome. It's exciting, to see the kind of impact that this facility is going to have on the economy is great. To see the kind of impact, or think about the impact it's going to have on the Creek Nation is great. The jobs created, the investment. I think it's good for the Creek Nation. It's good for the state of Oklahoma, and so I'm just excited to be part of it. And I'm excited to watch it grow and develop. And then I think, as I mentioned in my comments, the investments in other programs that help the Creek citizens of healthcare and education and reinvestment programs. I mean, those are awesome.
This sort of raises the bar of competition here in Tulsa. Hard Rock is probably the biggest competitor, but it is in Catoosa. This is in Tulsa. Yep. So is it going to saturate the market? What will be the impact?
Well, I don't have the figures to determine if it saturates or not, but I got to think that what it appears to me is that Tulsa area is becoming known as an entertainment destination. And I think that that's a situation that probably lifts all boats. I think we'll see people think about, on the outside of Tulsa, outside of Oklahoma, they'll think of Tulsa as an entertainment destination. And so I think it'll help all the facilities at the end of the day.
Okay, that'll give you some idea of its impact here in the region. Arkansas River's never going to be the same, I think, after this one. Now, here's some information on the resort, just if you're curious. It cost $329 million to build this thing, and that includes the casino and the hotel and pool deck and all of the amenities that go with it, and for a total of $365 million in total costs, and that includes the design and other things that go along with it. When it opens in mid-December of this year, the hotel tower will include a 27-story glass tower with 483 luxury rooms, a number of suites, fitness centers, upscale spa, salon, blah, 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 and a lot of things that people would expect at a really upscale hotel. The new casino, which is really bright and beautiful. I don't want to sound like the PR people. I'll let them talk about it later on. It's 50,000 square feet, and it's got high ceilings, very bright, and quite the opposite of the usual kind of dark, what would you call it, gambling hall kind of thing. It's kind of inviting to walk around and look at it, and a number of wonderful exhibits and things that they've got that goes along with it. Now, their Jimmy Buffett's Margaritaville restaurant, bar, and retail venue has multiple levels, 2 levels, the seaplane, volcano, which erupts, and get this, lava runs into a giant blender, and you can get margaritas out of that. It's got room for live music and 2 outdoor decks overlooking the river and seating for about 400 people. Convention meeting venue, 30,000 feet of event and public space for there. Their entertainment venue showroom will offer theater-style seating for 2,500 plus VIP suites and lounge. Etc., etc. What else we got here? It has a really upscale steakhouse, Ruth's Chris Fine Steakhouse and Bar that'll be opening in January. And additional food and beverage venues will include a fireside grill, 3-meal restaurant, 5 o'clock somewhere bar, and the Margaritaville coffee shop. So there's all kinds of things to think about. And from what I understand, Jimmy Buffett, the man himself, will be appearing in concert there in January. So if you're interested in checking it out, please do. It's quite a venue. Okay, well, we're going to take another pause here, and we'll be bringing in Kacie Ryal from the Mvskoke Creek Nation's Public Relations Department. She'll talk about what they do when they're trying to publicize what the tribe is up to, respond to public inquiries, and the kinds of things that makes the public aware of the activities of the Mvskoke Creek Nation. So stay with us here on 1240 The Brew on Mvskoke Radio, and we'll be right back.
Hear that? That's the sound of hope being killed by meth. Methamphetamine use is causing huge problems in our community. Hear that? That's the sound of something you can do about it. Events like rodeo, res ball, and family time can help keep kids away from meth.
Talk to your kids. Keep our culture alive. A message from the Partnership for a Drug-Free America and the National Congress of American Indians.
Learn more at ncai.org.
Who am I? Am I Indian? Just 'cause I'm a girl from the res, don't make things up about me. What if I move away? Then who am I? Some kids try meth just to escape, but then I think about my grandma, my little brother, my beadwork, my poetry, and I think, I like who I am, and I know meth is not for me.
Check out ncai.org, a message from the Partnership for a Drug-Free America and the National Congress of American Indians.
Okay, we're back here on Mvskoke Radio, and joining us now is Kacie Ryal of the Mvskoke Creek Nation's Public Relations Department. We got her on the spot today. Her partner, Mark Abbott, sneakily ducked out on her today and left her to carry all the water here. Thanks, Kacie. We appreciate you coming down and talking with us today.
Oh, well, thank you so much for bringing me here and giving me a chance to talk about my department.
Well, I wanted specifically the boots on the ground folks. We always hear from the managers and things like that, but I'm always interested in talking to people who make things tick. the things that go on. Now, in recent months, of course, the Media Department and Public Relations were formally split. And previous administration had a media department doing everything, and you guys doing parts that we weren't aware of, and et cetera. The left hand did not know what the right was up to, but that's changed now under this administration.
Yes, sir.
So why don't you, I guess, give us a capsule of what you're charged to do, your program.
Right, okay, so the Office of Public Relations for the Mvskoke Creek Nation, we are in charge for mass communications. We also do events, different event planning type of things. We do all of the advertising and advertising buying for the tribe as well. So really it's we wear a lot of different hats for whatever the need be at hand, and we definitely try our very hardest to be the best expert we can at all the things that we do.
Now, when you've got an event or a project, you're charged to publicize them.
Yes, sir.
What are the steps that you go through? Do you sit down and have a group meeting on how to approach the thing and strategy?
Oh, absolutely. Whenever we have a new fiscal year, we sit down as a team and we really figure out what our goals are as far as who we want to advertise to, as well as, what are going to be the best avenues to get this information out. So for this year, we really wanted to focus on the different services that the tribe offers. I can't tell you how many times, I'll talk about a program or something that a department has just come out with and doing, and people will say, well, I didn't know that. So it was my job and really a main focus to be like, okay, I need to get this information out to citizens that we have these services that are being offered.
Well, that's kind of what we're here for, so make sure you let us know and we'll try and give you a hand there. And our citizens really do respond positively when they find out. Like in recent weeks we spoke with fleet management about things they do at quite reasonable costs, and people were saying, well, I didn't know that. You go in and get your tires rotated or whatever else, and we can depend on our own people to do this. When there is a major event coming up, such as the Margaritaville, what kind of things run through your discussions about what you're going to do and who you talk to when you publicize?
Right. So whenever we get a big event planned like that, our usually first step is, what dignitaries need to be there, and letting them know, what entrance, simple things is like what entrance and what door they're going to be coming into, and what time they're going to be going on to speak, where they're going to be sitting at an event. Also, is there going to need to be a PA system at the event? Is there going to need to be lighting for the news stations that are going to come out and publicize this event? So it's really the little minute things, the behind the scenes. We try our very best to, we don't want you to know we're, there and rooting around. We want to be behind the scenes, get it all laid out as much as we can. It's our job to make sure everything runs smoothly and there's no hitches. So it can be a little stressful at times, but it's definitely a great opportunity to always be doing something different. It's never the same.
I used to actually do that same task for the electric utility in Anchorage, Alaska, and it's just amazing the kind of stuff that pops up. Our mic stand isn't working very well for this podium. We need to use a boom instead of just a straight stand.
Right, and you better have two of everything.
Because the batteries in one of them will die on you right in the middle of something. Things like water, refreshments for the reporters, and helps you kind of cultivate that friendly relationship with the media.
Which is ever so important always.
Really, they're going to be a lot happier if they've got, cold water or something, or a little snack or something, than just standing around, getting thirsty.
Absolutely.
The media in our area, of course, primarily the Tulsa World, and then 4 television stations and a number of stations there. Now, do you just kind of blanket them when you put out a release or an invitation to an event, or you kind of pick and choose there?
Right. Well, I tell you what, whenever the Mvskoke media did become independent from the tribe, we were actually very, very lucky in the fact Miss Jessica McBride actually had all of our Vocus software set up for us, about 90% for us whenever the switch came over. So thankful to her that she already had a great list of media contacts, both from our local outlets. We also have a different distribution list of Tulsa World contacts alone, and as far as as big as a national standpoint of media contacts. So depending on the event or the press release that is being written, we were able to choose which list those can go out to for as far as distribution. So thanks to you guys, it was very, very easy changeover.
Well, I messed with the Vocus system a bit when I worked for the Cherokee Nation, and I hated it.
Oh, yeah, she had to train me on it. That's definitely for sure. She was nice enough to do that. So after that, I got to it. We're actually switching over to a meltwater system for the next fiscal year.
Well, once you learn the doodads and doohickeys on it, then it's not so bad. You're like, oh, we can actually use this silly thing. Now, the kinds of things that you all publicize, do you get to choose those, or how do you choose them? And is there a lot of activity going on our tribe that you want to put out there to the media?
Well, from a public relations standpoint on that, whether it gets decided, any event, I've always been taught in school and college that you can never put out too much information. So events like if the Scholarship Foundation were to receive a big donation, of course we would want to write a press release for that and send it out. Children and Family Services just got a donation from a motorcyclist association for Christmas presents for the kids that are in adoptive services. That's a great something I would be able to promote as well to the media. So really, the departments make my job a lot easier in deciding that. There's always something to write about, always something to be doing.
Here's one that I kind of warned you about when we were talking outside is, why do the Cherokees get more things into the news than we do right now?
Well, absolutely. Well, the Cherokee Nation obviously are blessed with a lot of funds. So funding obviously has a lot to do with the amount of commercial time that you see, which they put out amazing commercials. And of course, our department is really, really proud that we do everything ourselves. We are full production. We're able to go out and film, produce it, edit it, and put it on air. And the larger tribes like that actually have outside sources, production companies, and that would free up a lot of their time. Otherwise, for us, we do everything ourselves.
So we can say Mvskoke Nation homegrown.
Yes, sir. We're very proud to say so.
From time to time, a tribal government may run into a kind of a prickly situation. I know let's take a big one like health right now.
Mm-hmm.
People, that was a huge flap over what happened there, and people were mad in some cases, and questions were flying and things like that. How did you all get a hold on that, and what was your thought in responding to the public inquiry?
Right. The harder questions that come across our desk, we always have to realize in our office that, we're never at liberty to speak for the tribe as a whole. So really on topics like that, we need to go to the utmost authority and people who are experts on that matter. So for instance, I would never answer a question about an HR question because I am not an expert in human resources. I would go to Mr. Dean Hughes or Mr. Greg Walker, or Miss Judy Hompey for one of those questions like that. So it's really our job to know the logistics of the tribe and who would be the best person to answer these questions, because every question needs to be answered. So it's really our job to know who's the it guy for that question. So if we can get to that, we can always get a good, reliable answer and something we can stand behind on a factual matter.
You all kind of get in a huddle and kick it around and figure out who you should be going to.
That's right. Teamwork makes the dream work.
Wow, very good. Gosh, you sound so much like a PR person.
You're welcome.
Are you a member of the PRC, Public Relations Essay Society of America?
You know what? That's the first time I have heard of this.
Are you kidding me?
No, sir.
Okay, we might want to look into it. Public relations professionals, and they have their own group.
Well, that sounds like a good opportunity.
Yes, and I would hope there is more Native American presence and kind of changing America's thinking about us and putting us out there, and not just the romantic notions and things like that. There are probably times when you wish you hadn't got out of bed when you get an angry citizen or someone calling in and saying, "Well, I want an answer to this kind of stuff. I want the tribe to say something about blah blah blah." How do you deal with those situations?
Well, I tell you what, whenever I get a phone call and, a citizen might be upset or distraught about a matter, you can't take the anger personal, because the real matter at hand is that there's an issue that's going on and they just need a resolution that needs to be solved. So you really can't let, a tone or words hurt you in that matter. It's just resolving the issue, which, can always be resolved. It's really, or maybe they don't have the correct information, or, maybe they are trying to hit up the wrong department for the matter that they need. It's really, I know I said it, but I'll say it again. It's the biggest part of being in public relations is know how logistically how things work. So if you know that, it usually isn't a problem to get the matter solved. And if not, I can always transfer them to second chief, and he's more than willing to take it to the top and get it resolved.
Well, that's actually a wonderful strategy, because he can kind of calm things down, I would say, and if they're fluent in a language or something like that, he can communicate on that level.
Right. And they feel like they're really being heard and taken seriously. So that's something that I feel like is a full functioning government system is incredible to be able to offer to our citizens. I mean, it's not like, we can call the President of the United States and, ask him what's going on. This is an option that is available to our citizens, to where you can talk to one of the top officials realistically any day.
Do you get questions from the Oklahoma public in general that are, I guess, Creek 101, like they don't have an understanding of who we are or our relationship with the federal government? I mean, do you find yourself having to educate non-native citizens and our neighbors here?
All the time. It's crazy to think how these things are not being taught and how these things are not being known, even within, the education system, that this is history. And it's almost upsetting. But, I mean, even, for example, whenever I was being recruited by some colleges for softball in the South, whenever I was explaining to him that I had Native American scholarships available to me, that they wouldn't have to use a full scholarship on me and those types of things, they were really wanting to understand, do I really got the questions, do I live on a reservation, do I live in a teepee,
You said yes to all of them.
Do I have access to a car? And it's just surprising questions like that. But it's also great in the fact that I do get to tell people, this is how it really is. And I get to realistically, let them know about our culture and how things really work.
Right, and things like you don't have to walk 4 paces behind a man, or silly things like that.
That's right.
When's the last time you scraped a buffalo hide or anything?
Right, or what our religion is, things like that. Ever surprising questions.
Yeah, I don't want to throw out a cheap shot, but the educational system just doesn't provide for that. I mean, we're just not in the books as how we are realistically. Mm-hmm. There might be something about, the land rush or things like that, or during the Civil War, Obatala Yahola went this way. Mm-hmm. But not enough about the political relationship. And I think that's something that we try to emphasize all the time, we're not just another minority. We have a political relationship with the U.S. government.
That's right.
You know, there is no Bureau of African American Affairs, but by gosh, there is the BIA, Boss Indians Around. Bureau of Indian Affairs. Now, there are have got to be times when it's fun, when it's a lot of fun, like you might get to meet a, quote, celebrity, unquote, or get to do something you personally have never done or participate in this amazing event. Does that happen for you very often?
Oh, absolutely. Actually, at our Native Visions camp that we had this year, that we hosted about 1,000 Native American athletes that came in and stayed at the Creek Nation for a couple of days and was hosted at the Dome. Billy Sims actually got to come down.
Oh, he's quite a man, yeah.
Oh, absolutely. I'm a huge Oklahoma Sooners football fan, and I love his barbecue. It is absolutely amazing if you've never been to any of his barbecue places. I got to interview him, so it was amazing to get to shake his hand and talk about, his different locations for his barbecue too.
Yeah. Did he get any barbecue?
Not there, but I definitely went there that week. He reminded me I need to go there.
Get some greasy lips from eating barbecue.
That's right.
The chief in this administration, I think, is markedly different from his predecessor in being more open and transparent and willing to answer questions like that. Now, what does that do for the job that you and your colleagues have? I mean, what's it like now, then, so to speak?
Well, he's definitely surprisingly always made himself very accessible to us. I mean, picks up our phone calls or texts, or if we really feel like we need his opinion on a matter, he always makes himself available. So yeah, that does make our jobs a whole lot easier now. As far as being on camera and being on things, we really gotta kind of nudge him on that, because he's not one of those type of guys that really desperately wants to be in front of the camera. He just wants to do his due diligence and his work, and he doesn't feel like he always needs to be in the spotlight. But letting him know that we're proud of him and he is a figure, always is something we like to do, so the citizens, know he's there and ever present like he is.
All right, and about the last minute or so we have in this little chat, give me a description of your department. How many people and what responsibilities and what capabilities, real quick?
Well, we are a small herd, but we are definitely very, very close. I definitely like to say that each one of our people in our department, we are a family and very, very close. So that makes things a lot easier, and we, for the most part, all are cross-trained on a lot of different things that we do. So we're able to cover anything that comes our way, no matter what's going on. If we have several different events, we have it covered. So in our department, we have Mr. Thompson Jabon Gouge, who is our interim director right now. We have Amanda Rutland is our web designer. We have Mr. Mark Abbott, who is our video production. And we have myself as a media relations specialist. And we just, Tasha Monoi, which is our administrative assistant. And we just added a brand new one, Mr. Lucas Taylor, and he is going to be our graphic designer and give us help on events as well.
Yeah, Lucas came over from health.
Yes, sir. Yeah, we're so glad to have him, because we haven't had anyone in the office who has really been an expert in doing all these graphic designs. So he's taken a lot of weight off of us in that matter. So we're excited to have him.
And you got Amanda from us.
Right, yeah, absolutely. She's been great. We just launched our new website a month ago, and it's doing fantastic with new formats. We feel like it's a lot easier to read and more accessible and user-friendly for the citizens to get those event information and service information.
All right. If we had someone who wanted to get in touch with you and talk to you about an idea or a project or just an event, perhaps, how do they get in touch with you?
Well, you can email me at kryal@mcn-nsn.gov, or you can call me at 918-732-7621. Or you can stop by my office, which is in the executive building. I'm always happy to see new people.
Okay. If you want to yell, maybe you want to vent outside before you come in and talk. Okay. Well, thank you, Kacie. We appreciate you coming down and kind of giving us an insider's look at the Public Relations Department.
Oh, no problem. Thank you for having me. Check out our Information from the Nation YouTube channel for your latest updates.
I'm glad you mentioned that. Well, that's going to do it. We're out of time, so we'll just dispense with this little folder here and say we want to thank all of our guests for joining us today. And we hope that you will be joining us again. And Mado Mabu Hejidskad, Gary 5 Jeho Jifkidos. You've been listening to Mvskoke Radio. Join us again next week for more local, tribal, and community news and updates. Mado.